All right, hey everybody, and welcome to Chiu Stream. This one is a bit of an unplanned Chiu Stream, but a lot of times when you look at the best things in life, most of them are completely unplanned. I was planning on interviewing the amazing and incredible Alex Konstad. I'm not sure what happened. I hope he's okay, but here we go. We're gonna do a live painting while I take questions, while I talk with you all. So if you caught this stream live, good for you. And definitely, if you'd like to participate, I'd really appreciate that. All you need to do is type into the chat question in big capital letters, and then we'll be able to find those questions a lot easier. If you are watching this after the live stream, then welcome as well. If you'd like to catch a live stream, definitely remember to subscribe to this channel. But better yet, sign up for the Schoolism newsletter at schoolism.com. That way you will get instant notification of live streams like this. Well, this one is very sudden, so probably not this one. But usually for everything else that's good, you would find that on the Schoolism newsletter. And the one thing that I'd love to tell you about on the Schoolism newsletter that's happening right now, only happens at the most twice a year, is a Schoolism sale. And right now the Schoolism winter sale is on, and that is really good to know because you save over $100 off if you get an annual Schoolism subscription. Cover all of your educational needs with this one purchase. You will have unlimited access to all 23 Schoolism courses and assignments taught by artists such as Oscar-nominated artists Daisu Tsumi and Robert Kondo, Time Magazine cover artist Jason Seiler, Pixar's art director of character design for their latest greatest, Coco, that's Daniel Arriaga, another one of our amazing Schoolism instructors, and Star Wars creature designer Tara Whitlatch, just to name a few. If you're thinking about it, act now because the winter sale ends January 20th, 2018. And looks like everybody is dribbling in, so that's fantastic. Great to have everybody come onto the stream. Let me know where you're from, and I'd love to give you a big shout out. So, oh, there's the live chat. I was looking at it in the wrong place. All right. Great. All right, so we got, who do we have here? We have Dylan from Chicago. We got Cambridge, UK, Ecuador, Mexico, Paris, England, Cyprus, Germany, Slovakia. Holy smokes. Cologne, Finland, Scotland, Cyprus, South Park in Colorado. Nice. South Africa, Serbia, Uruguay, Toronto, and Ecuador again, and so on and so forth. There's too many. Poland and Sweden, Vietnam, Venezuela. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Norway. I'll give a big shout out to Norway and Jordan and Las Vegas. And okay, I got to stop. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for joining in. So today is super interactive. A lot of times what I do is I have this painting that I finished already, and then I'll play the making of that painting. Today is very unexpected because I was planning on interviewing the amazing Alex Konstad, but he wasn't there. So what I'm doing instead is I'm going to paint live for y'all, and it's totally interactive, okay? You could feel free to ask me any questions, and I'll be happy to answer as many as I could. So the first one says... this one is from Alex. So Alex says, it is said that Mort Drucker could visualize the entire person before drawing and painting. How clearly do you visualize your initial concept? On a really good day, I can visualize it pretty darn clear, and I would be visualizing not just in lines, but in in light and color. And color is definitely a hard one to visualize. But the other thing is, guys, everybody, is that there must be, I'm pretty darn sure there are completely endless ways to visualize things, to think about things. Imagine this. When you're painting, I'm sure many of the professionals know, when you're painting, a lot of times you're thinking not just visualizing stuff, but you're visualizing time as well, right? What am I going to paint first? What am I going to paint second? What am I going to paint third? And thinking steps ahead, especially, this year I've been picking up watercolor, and that's been fantastic. Watercolors by a true master, Carcamo. We flew him out to Canada, or he actually, no, sorry, we didn't fly him out, but he came to Canada, and we were super excited to have him. Invited him over to the studio, and had him teach us for a few days. And the stuff I learned was incredible. But one of the things that you definitely pick up on very quickly is how much additional advanced thinking there is with traditional mediums, especially with paint, and then even more so, especially with watercolor painting. So, another interesting thing was I was talking with Paul Zane of Lord of the Rings fame, and he's been working in animated movies for a good long time. Paul was saying that with his traditional art, he would think a lot of times like 7 steps ahead. He would visualize that much. He would think that much ahead. First, I'm going to put down this, then I'm going to do that, then I'm going to wait for it to dry, then I'm going to do this and that. And that was with traditional paint. But now that he's doing digital paint, and mostly digital paint these days, he doesn't think that much ahead anymore because you don't need to. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. And that's why I really highly recommend that no matter if you are a traditional painter or if you're a digital painter, become both. Because just like how a lot of artists back in the day, and probably still now, if you do oil paint, a lot of them also picked up watercolor, like Sargent. And his watercolors were fantastic. You gotta look him up if you haven't seen John Singer Sargent's watercolors. Breathtaking, genius. But yeah, he did both, right? And what will happen when you do both watercolor or traditional mediums and digital? It's like they will sharpen each other. One, if you're doing digital, you can bring out as many ideas as you can, as fast as you can, and that's great. And you can work through all of your ideas, right? You can work way faster. And then you start working traditionally, and of course, there is the awesome feeling of, wow, I'm doing this completely without electricity, which must sound kind of funny to the older crowd, but to the younger crowd, it's almost everything nowadays has something to do with electricity in some way or another. So that's really nice, being able to kind of feel that, right? The other part to this is that you also, when you're doing traditional mediums, you're also thinking a lot more ahead. And that's a wonderful practice to have, because if you can start to really think ahead while doing traditional media or digital mediums, wow, then you're going to start painting fast. Then you're going to start painting like David Levy kind of levels. David Levy, one of the fastest painters I know. If you check out his stuff, that's also another really good one to check out. Amazing, incredible artist. Hopefully one day on Schoolism. Now, a bunch of questions are coming in, so thank you so much for all the wonderful questions. Keep them coming. I will get to as many as I can. Next one is Casey Davis. Casey Davis asks, if I wanted to make a career of art, storytelling, in video games, movies, other media, what kinds of classes do you recommend? Ooh, what a good question. Career of art, storytelling in video games, movies, other media. That's a bunch of stuff. So first and foremost, storytelling is a big one. You're going to want to know how to draw characters and do it in such a way where they are telling a story, not just stagnant drawings, right? So, one amazing class, I'll tell you why it's amazing in a bit, but one amazing class that I love, and when you take it, guaranteed, like everybody, the first thing that they think of after they take this class is how come they didn't teach this in school? Well, it's because it's taught by Alex Wu, uh, ex-Pixarian. He worked on Ratatouille. He worked on, I believe, Wall-E. He worked on a whole bunch of classics. And he teaches gesture drawing on schoolism. So gesture drawing, if you ever had trouble posing characters, if you ever had trouble telling stories with characters, wow, this is such an amazing course. I kid you not. This is coming from, I'm not saying that this is a wonderful course for students. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is a wonderful course in general. If you're a professional, take it and tell me it wasn't challenging. These philosophies that he teaches, the method that he teaches, it's genius because it's super simple to understand, which means that any level artist can do it. But it's very hard to, it's weird. I never get phone calls these days and somebody's trying to call me. But anyways, it's very hard to master. And a lot of times, those kind of lessons, people, those kind of lessons are the ones that are the best ones. It's when somebody teaches you something that first took you a long time to learn, right? Took them a super long time to learn and develop. And for them to teach you the philosophies, it usually is distilled into just a fraction of the time they can pretty much teach you the main gist of everything that they've developed. That's a really common trait amongst amazing artists that are also really great teachers. The other part to it is that it's super hard to master. If you ever taken a course with Nathan Fowkes, all his courses are like that, really. Like I hear them, I follow along, and let me know if you guys have taken Nathan's courses as well. But you follow along and you're like, yeah, I totally get this. I love it. I'm going to keep doing it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, this is actually kind of challenging. This is actually pretty darn challenging. I can do it, but I'm unsatisfied when I'm done. Like I feel like I need to do it again. I need to tackle another one to try to get that that level that I'm aiming for. Because when you watch his stuff, it's so fluid, it's so effortless feeling, and that's another really wonderful trait of a really good instructor. Instructors aren't just people that give you really good info. A lot of people can give you good info. If that was the case, everybody can just regurgitate whatever art book they got their hands on, and then everybody could be a teacher. A lot of them are kind of like that, but many of them, the really great ones, it's like they're teaching in their own way. They can't just regurgitate stuff. Right? It won't sound as good. Oh, this is looking nice and fluffy. There's before, there's after. So let's go on to the next question here. Dylan asks, with New Year's coming around the corner, how should I make my goals and achievements list? Should I write it down and do a video? Do a video? I'm not sure why you would want to do a video for your achievements list. So somebody is trying to... One of my wonderful teammates are trying to... Okay, well... Interesting. Okay, so I guess we just found Alex. you know what? My day today is really crazy, so I'm gonna ask if we can actually reschedule him for a different day. That way, we won't have to rush through his interview and things like that. Okay, so let's go back to a question here. With New Year's around the corner, how should I make my goals and achievements list? Should I write it down and do a video? I absolutely love writing down my achievements or my list, my list of goals, things I want to achieve. That is fantastic. Here's a tip. Think about what kind of things roll around in your head all day or most days, commonly. What rolls around your head? It might be celebrity news. It might be the new whatever trailer. Okay? Then, think about all those things that occupy your time. Then I want you to think about what are the most important things this coming year or in your life right now that could totally elevate your level of life, career, success, whatever that might be. And think about how much you actually think about that stuff. How kind of in the front of your thoughts are these thoughts. You see what I'm saying? Put your most important thoughts right on the tip of, your common thoughts throughout the day. One time when I was a little kid, I got a Game Boy. And that's a handheld video game kind of console thing. And I was so addicted to Tetris. I remember going to sleep at night, and when I closed my eyes, I would see Tetris pieces. I would literally see Tetris pieces, and they would turn and they would fit together and things like that. Even when I didn't want them to, that's what was happening. That experience was very interesting to me because I knew that if I could get my goals to that level where you're thinking about your goals so constantly that even when you don't want to think about them, you're still thinking about them. Wow, now you're at a level where you're going to get some stuff done, big time. And that's something that you don't want to get too obsessed about, but it's not like you try to start getting it more and more ingrained into your everyday thoughts that all of a sudden you will get obsessed. Okay, it happens very, very slowly, so it's very, very controllable. So try to get your ultimate goals to that same level as well, that you're constantly thinking about them nonstop, all right? The other thing is, you ever heard about that joke or whatever? How do you eat an elephant? Well, the joke is, how do you eat an elephant? Well, you eat it one bite at a time. How do you deal with a giant goal or these big goals? One bite at a time. Think about what that micro step is. What is that? Instead of thinking about, okay, how do I build a house? Or how do I clean up my garage? This is the perfect example. How do I clean up my garage? Okay, well, clean up my garage is on my to-do list. I go into the garage. I see this giant broken refrigerator, and it's in front of everything. So you need to get rid of that first. What do we usually do? We usually close the door. We usually go back inside and go play video games or whatever. But instead, think of what is that tiny little bite, that tiny little step that you can easily do in a day. Put that down on your list and go do that. So what is that first step? Okay, so on your to-do list, it is clean out refrigerator. And then you think to yourself, okay, well, how am I going to do that? Or sorry, not clean out refrigerator, clean out garage. How am I going to do that? Oh, I'm going to get rid of my refrigerator that's in front of everything. if that's the first thing on your list, then you're still not going to do anything because you're going to be like, how am I going to do that? And you're going to think a little bit and go back inside, a lot of us. So what you want to do is you want to think about what is that next step that is easy to do? Okay, what is that next step that could be totally easy to do? Now get it one step closer to completion. It's probably just look up disposal service for large appliances. You can totally do that. We can all do that pretty easily on the internet. So all of a sudden we get one step closer to a big task. The other thing that I do is, some people ask, how do you kind of do all these different things? Because, I do a lot. Right now, I'm on 2 films. I'm running schoolism. There's all these workshops that are happening, all around the world that we are currently selling tickets for, which absolutely get on that if you're looking for a good New Year's resolution. Come out to one of our events. See how that's like. See how it is to kind of talk with other professionals that you respect and things like that, and expand your network, expand your talents. Oh, by the way, yeah, if you do want to get a ticket for the schoolism workshops, I'll give you a little tip here. Use the promo code INSPIRE and you'll get a discount. And pass it on to your friends so everybody could go together. But yeah, I do that. And Nico and the Sword of Light, our TV show with Amazon Prime, was just nominated for 2 Annie Awards. I think it was last week. And there's a bunch of other stuff that we're doing as well, that I'm doing. I'm doing this series of unusual unicorns, as you can see. This is one of them. I wasn't planning on showing, but you caught me on a good day, so you get a little sneak peek. And there's a bunch of other stuff I can't really talk about. So there's a lot. And how do I deal with all these things? How do I kind of manage doing all these things? Do I go, okay, 20 minutes on this, 20 minutes on that, 20 minutes on... No, I don't, because there's too many. There's too many things. So what I do instead is I create a theme for every year. So last year, my theme was stay my butt at home, work on the online part of schoolism, which everybody's going to start seeing all these awesome, wonderful online classes popping up this year because of all the hard work we've been doing this past year. First one being next week. I'll give you guys a little heads up. Next week, Monday, we are planning on releasing the first English online class, watercolor fundamentals with Karkamo, the person that I said I was studying from. Awesome. Anyways, that question has gone on way too long. So I apologize, and let me go on to the next one. So the next one is from this kid. Me has anxiety. That's the person's username. How about inspirations? How do you get ideas like such for animating, mostly since working on some projects and practicing? For animating mostly since working on some projects and practice. Okay, I'm just going to stick with the first part of the question here. How about inspirations? How do you get ideas like such? Take some time to let your mind wander. That's what I say. I will just look around the studio, see if there's any cool books that I've been neglecting, that I bought a while ago and never actually read. I will go on to things like our friends at ArtStation. You go on to ArtStation, there's pure inspiration everywhere on ArtStation. That's a really good one. Also, one thing that I've been doing lately is I've been creating Pinterest boards. Not many, but that's been very helpful. I plan on doing more you just look online and you start pinning up photos onto your Pinterest board, and then every time you are looking for something to paint, some inspiration or whatever, start painting. Just go to your boards and try to get some inspiration from that. And that's usually a pretty good way. A pretty good way. I feel like this guy is missing some fangs. Doesn't he seem like he should have fangs? The other part to creative thinking that is, I don't know if it's a bit more esoteric, but it's kind of like, for me anyways, it's kind of like cooking, right? You're making the soup, you taste the soup, and you go, did that taste good? No, it needs more salt, it needs more sugar, it needs more whatever. So when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking it's a little too wholesome. It needs some edge to it. And that's why I was like, you know what? It needs some sharp teeth. Right? So sometimes if I'm thinking, okay, this image right here, what this needs is to be cute. And then you look at it and you're like, yeah, it's kind of cute, but it's not totally there yet. So for me, it is a bit of a feeling kind of thing. Like, I know the feeling I want the viewer to get. Now, if I'm a viewer, what feeling am I getting now? Okay, that's not it. Let me do this, let me do that, let me heighten this. And so all of a sudden, it feels a lot better. Okay. Next question here. Next question is from Finktas. Finktas says, with the onset of clients needing concepts quickly, as a beginner, this seems way off for me. When did you know your speed was right for the price of the project? Ooh, very good question. Well, one thing for sure is that there is no kind of standard amount of time that an artist usually spends on something. Like, I ask people all the time and they always tell me different answers. So that tells me that, yeah, industry people, directors, producers, whatever, they don't really have any clue on, what a standard time is as well. They'll just know what is going to take too long and what takes, what is going to be like really quick for them. That's it. So I kind of knew that my speed was right when clients would call me back. I think that's the best way to know. Unfortunately, that's not an easy kind of way to determine things. So I would say I would love to give you a standard, but usually what I do, okay, and perhaps this is the thing that everybody can kind of take with them and apply it. Usually what I do is I just say, okay, well, let me know how many days ideally you would want me to work on this, and then I can give you a better idea of what I am able to do with that amount of time. So, or for example, I would just say to them, I'd give them a bunch of different kind of scenarios. How long is this going to take? Well, what I was thinking is, first, give me a day to just explore, think of good ideas, draw down some not so hot sketches, and then that's the first day. Second day, I'll do a bunch of good sketches and then hand them in to you at the end of that day. And from there, we will talk about any revisions, and I'll take it one step further and one step further. And at the very end, we'll talk about texture. It could be like that. Sorry, my phone keeps going off. Today, once everything is not planned, oh my goodness. things kind of just come out of the woodwork everywhere. So I think we'll go on to the next question. Okay, so next question is in Indraniel. Indraniel asks, is it necessary to do oil paint before we do digital medium? No, it's not. I don't care what anybody says. From my own experience, I've known many people to go both ways. Like they might have started digital and then they learned how to paint traditional better. For me, I learned how to paint traditionally first, didn't get to a good level, went to digital, got to a much better level, and went back to traditional. And then I just keep going back and forth, back and forth. I find that to be very helpful. Really, really nice. So you can try that. I think it's time to work on a new guy over here. That'll be fun. Okay, so let's go on to the next question here. Ibi asks, if I want to paint something cartoony, should I visualize the cartoony drawing, or would it be better to imagine something real like a photo and then transform it into a cartoon on paper? It's definitely better to think of it as a cartoon, visualizing a cartoon. You know what I do when I'm drawing people on the subway and I'm characterizing them, or I'm just drawing them in general? I'm not trying to visualize the realistic photoreal thing. What I'm actually doing is I'm trying to imagine them as a sketch already. What do they look like as a sketch already? You know, that's really important because if you try to think of everything from a super realistic point of view, it's almost like there's too much info for you to get anything down, especially when it's when you're on the go, when you don't have a lot of time. It's a live painting outside. If I'm in front of my desk, then it's a different story. I can, work on visualizing a lot more. But for cartoony stuff, especially, I always found it's so different from real life that's much better to kind of look at real life or sketch it out first and then put it all away, use your memory, use your imagination, and just imagine things cartoony after that. And just start painting it straight to cartoon, thinking about it in an animated sense. Next one, Oliver asks, Terrell Whitlatch has both a class on schoolism and multiple classes on Gnomon. Those multiple classes on Gnomon, those are just videos, those aren't classes, okay? Her only class, as far as I know, is on schoolism. But anyways, the question goes, do you know if there is a difference between the amount of content education? Well, this is the thing. With the schoolism classes, you get assignments to go with the videos. The videos are based on guiding you through these assignments. Now, when you just watch a video of somebody painting, like Bob Ross painting, he tells you how he paints those trees, he tells you how he paints those fluffy clouds, but can you kind of take that info and apply it to your own paintings? To an extent, you can, but to a major extent, it is specific for that painting, right? So it's a video about that painting. For Terrell's class on schoolism, it's very much videos based on the assignment that you're going to be doing. So here's a bunch of different types of creatures. Here is the special thing about these creatures. Now, here are the bones, and so on and so forth. So at the end, what are you going to do? You're going to do a study of a creature, and you're going to do the muscles and the bones, just like in the video, right? Specific instructions to guide you through the process so that you'll learn the things that you need to learn. And it's not an easy thing to do. Learning creature anatomy is definitely not an easy thing to do. So it's important that you get the right materials, the right lessons and knowledge from the right people. Okay, so let's go on to Alex. Alex asks, would you ever consider hosting a schoolism competition like Golden Ticket, where a financially disadvantaged student could win a spot at the schoolism lake house? Love it. I love it, Alex. I would definitely consider that. You know, for me, this is how schoolism started. I just wanted to teach. I just wanted to teach, and I want to find other people to teach me. So it actually started completely free on the subways of Toronto, where I taught people for 5 years, whoever wanted to come. You know, whatever it is that I could teach them, I would teach them for free. Then what happened was, well, I was only affecting people in Toronto. I want to affect people all over the world. And then I want to get more people to help me affect people around the world. So then schoolism happened. But even when that happened, we did a free workshop in Sao Paulo, or in Rio de Janeiro, a little while back. You know, we traveled to places where we know there's probably not a lot of artists there. So we're all about giving back to the community. I think for me, for schoolism, we feel that it is not just a really great opportunity for ourselves and things like that, but it's an absolute honor to be able to contribute to the community in such a way where it's actually changing people's lives. It's the most humbling, the most gratifying thing that you can do. And once you do it, you probably will get addicted to it like I am. So don't be surprised if we end up doing some sort of contest thing later on. The only thing is that there's laws for conducting contests, and you have to be very careful that you're not breaking any laws. Like for North Americans, we all know, or most of us know, that it's very difficult to hold any kind of contest where it includes Quebec, Canada, because of the laws there. Anyways, I won't get into it. But there you go. Okay, so next one is Mark. How do you select artists to be on schoolism? That is a really great question. I have a wonderful couple event coordinators, Josie and T, which many of you probably know, and they help to decide, or mostly T. T and I will help to kind of work on what the lineup is going to be. Okay, next question. Did I just miss some questions there? Let me just double check here. Okay, so next question. This is from Jizzy. I want to maximize my time in the concept art path. I'm 34 and an old graphic designer. You're going to be in the UK and Ireland this year, right? Of both events, which you think I should go to? Oh man, that's a tough one. Let's see here. Let's bring this over here so everybody can see it too. So schoolism workshops, right? We're going to be going to Seattle, Toronto, Florence, London, Berlin, Copenhagen, Dublin, Shanghai, and there is going to be a bunch of private workshops as well that people can attend, where we are helping other organizations around the world host cool workshops. And I'll be in Mexico and Israel, and I believe one is probably going to happen in Russia. So anyways, London or Berlin, right? So London, Arthur Fong, young, crazy talented, did the cover of The Art of Crudes. Crash McQuarrie, very, very seasoned artist, the ultimate concept artist. If you're interested in concept art, holy smokes. Worked on Jurassic Park, worked on Predator, worked on Terminator, worked on like everything, everything. Pirates of the Caribbean. He did all the pirates, or had a huge footprint on the pirates. He's part of the Universal Dark Universe now. With the movie The Mummy, he had a huge credit in that. Then you have Robert Valley, amazing, incredible artist, person, animator, incredible. Andre Blasic is going to be sculpting live for you guys. That is going to be an incredible thing to see one of the best sculptors in the world sculpting live. Cody Gramstad, he's the person that has taken over the Tonko House painting with light and color. Another highly, highly talented artist. So this is really great for concept art. This one is pretty cool, really, really helpful, not totally necessary, in my opinion. It really does help to know how to sculpt, though. Robert Valley, not, I don't think that would be as crucial for concept art. This would be very crucial. Crash McQuarrie. Arthur Fong, another hugely, hugely important one. Boom, boom, and boom. Those ones for concept art, I would say. Then we have also Dublin, which I'm very excited about. Stefan Martinier, concept artist, Avengers, Fifth Element. I'm just thinking of my favorite ones. Guardians of the Galaxy, Age of Ultron, iRobot, Rage. He does video games to movies to whatever. Shannon Tyndall, he is responsible for Kubo and the Two Strings. The Black Frog, you can see all the credits here as well. It's incredible what these guys have done. So Black Frog, another concept artist. Sylvain Marc will be talking a lot about some really good visual development, concept art, right? For animation. Megan Brain, one of the best, if not the best, paper sculptor in the world. Nathan Fowkes, of the legend Nathan Fowkes. He's been in the movie industry for a good long time. How to Train Your Dragon, Legend of Puss in Boots, Prince of Egypt, and so on and so forth. So, shoot. Which one would I personally go to? I would go to Dublin, but it's really because I've never seen Shannon Tyndall talk before about his process. I've never seen Megan Brain and Black Frog or Stefan Martinier, actually. So that's why I would take that one, just because me personally, I haven't actually seen those ones before. But as you can see, it's a very tough choice. Some people are going to both. These are definitely things that are worth traveling for. Okay, next question here is Edward Sang. Edward says, hey Bobby Chiu, super excited to be going to a Schoolism workshop in London and Dublin. You see? What did I say? What would I need to bring to prepare myself to be utterly smothered by some art gods? Oh, well, what kind of things would I bring? I would definitely bring my sketchbook. I would bring somewhat of a portfolio so I can get some good kind of feedback. I would also bring, of course, a business card. And of course, if you want to get in the good graces of anybody, a good idea is to always bring a little something, a little gift or something that you thought about. You know, you didn't just get it because it was last minute. I remember one time this person gave me a box of donuts. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of different, kind of weird. And the funny thing was, is like a box of donuts in the middle of the night, which, you know, in North America, it's very much a breakfast type thing. Um, Definitely not a midnight kind of thing because the donuts were all stale and everything. But anyways, a lot of times I'll think of something to give people. If I want to meet them, let me give them something first that is genuine. You know, it really comes from the heart. I really felt like this is something I want to give the person, something that I thought might interest them. You know, and that always leaves a nice impression. The other thing I would do is if you don't know a heck of a lot about any of the presenters and stuff, do your research. Do your research before you actually meet up with them, right? Before going to the thing. Because if you do get a chance to talk with the instructors, which I'm sure you will, you know, there's only like 100, 200 some odd people at these events. So it's a very nice, cozy atmosphere. And if you do get to meet these people and you did do some research, then you have even more to talk to them about. You know, I know you did this, I know you said this, but was it because of this that you said this? You know, like something where it has thought to it. And it wasn't just, what kind of brush do you use? What's your favorite artist? That kind of thing. All right, next question here comes from Carlos. Carlos asks, talking about goals, what are your goals for 2018, Bobby? What do you want to improve and grow? Any exciting projects you could tell us about? Wow, you guys are giving really awesome questions today. Carlos, talking about goals. Okay, talking about goals. What are my goals for 2018? My one goal here, and I could show you some of this stuff too. One of my goals is to come out with a new online class. So I'll show you a little bit of that class because I have been working on it. And it's looking good. I'm really liking the stuff that I've been doing for this class. So let me just put this on screen for a sec. Okay, let's see. I believe it's this one. Let me make sure the sound is on. All right.
Okay, ready for our next challenge? For the people that are very used to just drawing characters and things like that, this might be a little bit of a challenge because, as you can see, it's a room now. And a lot of times when we think about painting a room, it can be very different than painting a...
So what are we doing here? What is this class going to be all about? This is going to be about some really well-polished digital painting lessons with digital painting assignments and really a ton of techniques, a ton of knowledge. Okay, so the idea here is to paint this whole entire painting in about an hour. I took about 20 some odd minutes.
Person. There's a lot of complexities involved in painting a room. There's so many things in the room. What do you start off with? That's kind of like the number one question that many of us have. So what I do is I look at whatever the overall objective is and try to group things and break them.
So the really cool thing about this class is that I really break down my thoughts. And I really do it in a way where I'm explaining all of my thoughts to you, not just telling you about it. So for example, like this part right
most
here.
Finished. What are the things that you'd want to put in next? You can also notice that my gradient on the big wall has a lighter area. When you're going from left to right, it goes dark, lighter, and then dark again. Now that light area, what is that about? Well, that is the bounce light coming from the light coming through the windows, bouncing off the back of those chairs, and then hitting the wall again. And that's what's making that wall brighter at that point. Now, if you want to do these things separately, you can, but sometimes when you do a couple steps at a time, it actually makes things much easier and much more successful in the long run. Now, as you're painting this, and hopefully,
so this is going to be really cool because I get really thorough. And all of these assignments, it's like I'll be explaining in such a way where you will be able to think in a much more simplified, a much more efficient manner. So just like this very complex
subject
room,
right in the beginning, I'm thinking
I break it down into very simple thoughts, very simple methods that people can take away.
The main thing here is that it's a cube, and we're observing the cube from inside the cube, and one side of the cube has these windows that are going to be casting in all this light, hitting this jumbled up object right in the center of the room, which is the table and chairs. The legs of the chairs and all those little bits and pieces feels kind of jumbly to me, so that's why I said a jumbly thing in the middle of the room. Now, some of these things, as you paint them, you'll notice that you're starting.
Yeah, obviously this is a very complex subject matter. And the other thing is that I'm only showing you bits and pieces, but you can see how kind of thorough everything has been put together, which is going to be really wonderful for people to
towards more of the viewer. You can see.
Anyhow, I hope you like that. Oh, sorry. I didn't know that the sound was so different. I apologize about that. But anyways, that's a class that I'm really excited about. And I know it's going to help a lot of people. So let's go on to the next question here. Next question is from Giovanna. Greetings from Brazil. I love your videos. Any tips to create a successful schedule for study? Studying, do it in the morning. That's why I'd say that keeps it nice and simple. Wake up nice and early, go to sleep nice and early, and spend your first bunch of hours of the day doing things that will help your life in the long run. Okay, practice kind of stuff. Scheduled, routine kind of stuff. Over time, it really, really pays off. It really, really does. This year, I got to do, I did the watercolor class with Carcamo. I did ZBrush with Justin Goby Fields. And I did the Tonko House class, painting with light and color with Cody Gramstad, actually. So I got the feedback as well. Yeah, if you are taking that class, you do want to see my assignments. You will see them. You will see them in the feedback videos. One of those artists is me, but not the same name. I always put a pseudonym when I take my own classes because I want to make sure that I get the same kind of experience as everybody else, as close as possible anyways. So that means no excuses for me either. You know, if I can't finish it, it doesn't matter if I have a busy schedule. You know, I get treated just like everybody else, and I would have to explain myself and so on and so forth. I'm accountable, which is great because it really forces you to make the learning part a priority. All right, next question. Damaston Art? Hi, Bobby. What is your biggest career goals and learning goals right now? My biggest career goal, I have a few, but generally, if I had to sum it up, my biggest career goal is to affect as many lives as possible in a positive way. That's it. Nice and simple. And it's absolutely true. You can kind of, for those of you that follow along throughout the years, that one, it's kind of a no-brainer, makes perfect sense. All right, so let's go on to the next question here. Next question says, Connix says, I don't have enough self-motivation to draw even weekly, but when I get frustrated, I'm getting more power to draw something. In your opinion, is it a good way to draw or not avoid it? If you're depending on getting frustrated, if you're depending on other things like maybe a looming deadline for you to get your butt in gear, I don't think that that's a good way. You know, it works for a lot of people. I do have to admit, some people it really works well for. But generally, I don't agree with that philosophy. You know, for me, I want to conjure up the reason for doing whatever. You know, so I want to be the catalyst for why I'm drawing right now. I don't want it to be, you know, some sort of big looming deadline or just being so frustrated or whatever. No, that's not going to create as much change as I'd like, you know, to my career and stuff. Okay, and let's go on to the next question here. Joe, do you find it difficult to break out into the commercial art world back then, being situated in Canada? Situated in West Coast, I personally find it's even more difficult to be seen or noticed. Wow, that's really interesting. You know, if you are on the West Coast of North America, it should be a lot easier because the stuff is a lot closer. The studios, the industry is a lot closer. Did I find it difficult in the beginning? Yeah, I found it difficult. But I also found that it was because I had a plan. You know, I had a plan. I committed to a 1 year plan, right? To really level up and work hard. And part of that plan was to create a bunch of sketchbooks that Kay and I, we brought to Comic-Con. And that's how everything kind of started. And we got our first main jobs there and everything. And it's wonderful. You know, will it be difficult to break out, for people to notice you? Yes. Is it impossible? Hell no. It's not even close to being impossible. All it takes is whatever you're doing or whatever the people that are kind of related to you are doing, like in your field and stuff. Think about that, okay? Let's all think about right now, if you want to be a gamer or whatever, concept artist for films or whatever. Let's think about that, okay? All the other people that are in your position right now, how much are they working? Let's picture that. How much are they working? And then picture the top 5% of those people, okay? How hard are they working? They must be working a lot harder than the top 5%. How dedicated are they? Are they learning more stuff? Are they, you know, what else are they doing? Let's think about all those things. Because that's where you need to be. You want guarantees. You want real, like, hardcore guarantees that you're going to do well in your career as an artist. This is the right thing to do. Be that 5%. Be that 3%. And do what they're doing, at least. And it's pretty much guaranteed. Because what happens is, as you learn more and more, as you get better and better, there will be a point. It's an awesome point where the whole entire world has no choice but to notice you now. There will be that point. So just keep learning, keep doing, Make 2018 the best year yet. Make your art the most evolved yet. One good tip where I would give this tip to anybody if I wasn't involved with schoolism. Just, get an annual subscription to schoolism and take every one of those classes, or as many as you can, and do the assignments. Really, do the lessons over and over again, the same lessons, even until you absorb everything hardcore. Don't just watch the lessons and then keep going. It won't do as much for you. But commit to getting through as many of those lessons as possible, and tell me where you are at that point. You will be so leveled up that it might just be addictive. I hope it is, because there are really great addictions in the world. Loving your family, caring about your family, your children, things like that. Addicted to being in love with your spouse. Another one is learning. Learning is such a good addiction. And it is that is the ultimate antidote to becoming subpar, to becoming invisible amongst your peers. I'm not the fastest learner in the world. I kid you not. I am actually a pretty slow learner. But the thing is that I kept learning. I just kept learning all these years, and now, 12 years of having the studio and everything. It's 12 years of hardcore learning, having schoolism and everything. How many people have jobs, are doing pretty well, have good demand for their services, and continuously takes lessons, takes classes, learns, goes on workshops? I'm pretty darn sure, with all, like, it's not cockiness, but it's just belief that I do believe I am doing the practices that the top 5% are doing. Imagine going to 5 workshops a year, because that's what I've been doing for the longest time, right? Doing multiple classes in a year, plus working on whatever projects. If you do that as well, you will get up there very quickly. Rawa asks, I have an ability to adapt different styles, fine art, caricature, etc., yet I feel I lack my own. I want to focus on developing my own style. What would you recommend to achieve this? What was the last thing you learned? That's what I wonder. What was the last thing you learned and really delved into? Because learning new stuff gives you more possibilities, and not just more possibilities, but well-crafted new possibilities, because you're learning from actual classes that somebody is teaching you, and then from there, you're getting all this new great information, high quality information. Chances of you putting that into your workflow, probably pretty darn good. And once you do that, it will change your art. It has to. That's by nature. You add something new into your workflow, it's going to change your art. You do enough of those changes, and all of a sudden your art doesn't look like whoever's caricature. It looks like your own. People that still look a little bit, where their art looks a little bit too much like whoever that artist was that influenced them, those people, they just need to keep learning, really. They might have gotten really good at kind of understanding a certain artist's style or technique, method, whatever. But if they don't learn more than that, if they don't keep learning from other people especially, then you will very likely be a watered down version of whoever it is that you're learning from. And that's no good. Okay, so that's my advice on that one. Let's go on to I like cake. I like cake as well. So often I try to draw and it doesn't look right because because I often get frustrated and quit the drawing for the day. Any tips to avoid this? Yeah, it seems like you need to do more studying because generally, and for me as well, when I just draw in my head and nothing is getting finished and nothing looks good, it means I don't understand the thing enough. That's generally my reason for that every time when I really think about it. I just don't understand the thing enough. So study up, and I keep pressing on the whole learning stuff, but one of the things that can get hard for many people, and myself included, is just thinking of what to draw. What should I draw today? I don't even know. So a lot of times that's solved because I just start doing whatever class I've been doing. I'll turn that back on and I'll start doing the next assignment or just watching the video and so on and so forth. And that will either spark up an idea or I start doing the assignment. And the assignment is great because each lesson comes with an assignment. And when you do the assignment, there's not as much thinking involved, right? There's not as much thinking involved because you have your assignment. So it's not blue skies. You could draw whatever you want. There's parameters to it. And a lot of times when you're working on something with a little bit of parameters, it makes it so much easier to be creative, original, whatever, tons of stuff. When it's a project that is completely blue sky, I get nervous. I get a little bit more nervous because there's no direction. Right? With no direction, it gets much harder to get anything off the ground. Okay, last question, or we'll see. Okay, so I think this might be the last question though. So Joel asks, sometimes when I speak about wanting to become a character designer, people look at me like, I don't get it. Have you ever had people make you feel like you're not a serious artist? Yeah, lots. When I got out of college, my first job was at a television studio, but I wasn't an artist there. I was the computer guy, and I would just take other people's art, other people's animation, things like that, look at it and pass it on to the right files, the right departments. That wasn't particularly enjoyable. But the other thing is that the artists, many of them, I know they didn't really take my art very seriously at the time. Sound familiar? So don't worry about it. It's fine. A lot of times that's the challenge that you have to get over. You have to get over that challenge of trying to, I don't want to do that. You want to get over that challenge of trying to convince people of whatever it is that you're doing, that you're serious about it. And how do you kind of convince them? You keep going. You keep going. When they say stop, you keep going. Eventually, they will be actually very like, wow, this person kept going, even though I was telling them it was a bad idea. And look at them now. They've succeeded. How do I feel? I feel like I'm thankful that they didn't take my advice. A lot of times these are the people that love you, All right, so I think this is looking pretty good, pretty fun. A little chocolate ice cream dog, I guess. Something like that. Chocolate ice cream unicorn puppy. Yeah, let's go on to another one here. So another one says, Jean. Let me just check my schedule. This is getting into, oh, okay. It's no problem. Okay, next question is from Jean, or Jean. Hi, Bobby. I love to use watercolors. I love to create still life illustrations, but I find it difficult to create complex illustrations, tell stories. What do you recommend to get better? Easy one. On Monday, this coming Monday, we are going to have, and if you're watching this not live, then the class is already out there, okay? We're going to have a new class on schoolism.com, Watercolor Fundamentals with Carcamo. He will be taking you through, yeah, you know what? Let me see if I can get the trailer. And then I'll show you guys a sneak peek as well. Yeah, so that's going to be such an exciting course, and you guys are going to get a kick out of it because you'll see that he's actually teaching Kay and I and Masei, watercolors. So we'll be taking a class with you guys as you're taking a class. And what a wonderful, can I just say that I loved how it all turned out, because in the end, we're making a new class on schoolism. And by doing so, we're getting taught literally by one of the best, one of the people that have very much mastered so much of the medium of watercolor. That was fantastic. All right, so let me actually, I know my desktop sound was really loud, so let me turn that down a bunch. Yeah, Gonzalo Carcamo. They call him the waterbender. Okay. Looks like it's on the server. This is actually great because I was looking to have some time to paint these little unicorn ideas. I call them unusual unicorns. But yeah, these unicorn ideas just for myself. Hopefully we'd make a book out of it. But right now, yeah, it's just for myself. So let me show you this. It's gonna be awesome. Trailer. Okay, it's got download it. And let me try to put it on here. Video, media source. Okay. All right. Check this out. Oops. Ah. Sorry. Hold on. That is totally the wrong side. Welcome to Watercolor Fundamentals with Carcamo. Through decades of persistence, practice, and his love of art, and more specifically, watercolor, Carcamo's work has gained the attention of the art community. Many call him the avatar waterbender for his incredible knowledge and masterful control of the somewhat chaotic medium. Through this class, Carcamo will share with you his knowledge of watercolor and how to work with it. He'll also be giving you instructions and exercises for you to fully absorb his techniques, starting from the beginning of how to set up your materials and what kind of brushes to use, and then walking you through the fundamental skills of creating seamless blending, soft and hard edges. From there, we're taught how to paint monochromatic, and then full color scenes, and even tackling the challenge of painting people. We at Schoolism are very excited to have this class from a real master of his craft. Carcamo has been teaching in Sao Paulo, Brazil for over a decade now, but this is his very first class online and in English. Schoolism's mission is to bring the best of the best from all over the world to share their knowledge and skills. Welcome to Watercolor Fundamentals with Karkamo. Through decades of persistence, practice, and his love of art, and more specifically, watercolor, Karkamo's work has gained the attention of the art community. Many call him the avatar waterbender for his incredible knowledge and masterful control of the somewhat chaotic medium. Through this class, Karkamo will share with you his knowledge of watercolor and how to work with it. He'll also be giving you instructions and exercises for you to fully absorb his techniques, starting from the beginning of how to set up your materials and what kind of brushes to use, and then walking you through the fundamental skills of creating seamless blending, soft and hard edges. From there, we're taught how to paint monochromatic, and then full color scenes, and even tackling the challenge of painting people. We at Schoolism are very excited to have this class from a real master of his craft. Karkamo has been teaching in Sao Paulo, Brazil for over a decade now, but this is his very first class online and in English. Schoolism's mission is to bring the best of the best from all over the world to share their knowledge and skills with the art community. So it's an absolute honor and pleasure to bring you Watercolor Fundamentals with a true master, Karkamo. Please enjoy. Wasn't that cool? Well, there you go. There's a little sneak peek at what's happening on Monday that we're going to announce on Monday that only you guys actually know and saw. So that's going to be awesome. I'm really excited to show everybody that class. We've been working so hard on it, and by the end of the class, all of us were obsessed about watercolor. I'm still obsessed about watercolors. So it was really cool. Highly, highly recommend that one. Let's go on to the next question here. Next question from Richard. After I finish work at 6, after I finish work at 6, I go to the gym and ended up getting home at 8 or 9 p.m., which leaves me too tired to keep up with schools and classes. I feel I am way behind on that. Any tips? Richard, I feel the same way for so many things, and the only way around it for me is I look ahead in my schedule, I look at the days in the week, and I pick out a time and a day, and then I put in, working on whatever class for however many hours, from this hour to that hour, and I make it as important to myself as possible. So I will schedule things around it. Unless it's absolutely, absolutely crazy important, which it never really is. There are always things that you can do at different times and such. Doctor's appointments, no, too bad. I'm doing my schoolism class. I gotta, change a different time. Take it that seriously. And when you take it that seriously, then you will make sure that you actually do it. Now, for me, again, one of the best times for myself is really early in the morning. So I would just get up earlier. I know how that feels as well. You go to the gym, you come home, you're tired. I'm not super as motivated as a lot of people think, I would say. I'm just more clever or efficient in when I do whatever task, right? So I leave more enjoyable things towards the end of my day, things where I'm okay doing even if I'm tired, or I'll put things that are more kind of brain dead activities like rendering fur or something like that. I put that at the end of the day, instead of thinking about my next 6 months. What are my goals? What are my objectives and things like that. That kind of stuff I would think about in the beginning of the day. So that really helps too, just to kind of sort out what you think at what time. Alex asks another question here. Over the course of your artistic career, have you or have any of you found a great method or activity to constantly combat crippling self-doubt? Yeah, the whole entire principle that you doubting yourself doesn't necessarily help. It doesn't help, actually. For the most part, it doesn't help. I would say it doesn't necessarily help because sometimes there are also the kind of things, examples where people think a little too highly of themselves, which wasn't really my problem, I would say, but I've seen it happen in other people. So that would be a case where it would actually probably help a little if you doubted yourself. You know what? Let's think about it like this. If you are not scared right now, if you are not, at least a tiny part of you is a little nervous or a little scared, I don't like using the word scared, but perhaps a little nervous about your career and where it's going and how you're going to be doing. If you are not that scared of these kind of things, then you should be. You should be very worried. But if you are the type of person to be concerned, to be worried about these kind of things, then you have nothing to worry about. That is probably one of the truest statements that anybody can make, because you do want a little bit of that worry. You do want a little bit of that concern. It just makes things when you're worried, then you act a different way. You're more cautious. You start to think about things in different ways, which will help you, which will protect you. But if you're not worrying at all, then how are you going to be prepared? So a little bit of worry is good, but it's kind of like fire, right? You want it controllable. When you can't control it anymore, then you got a problem. You got to have that balance. The other thing to that is, if I concern myself, if I worry about things that don't matter, or not that don't matter, that I can't do anything about, there is no point in me worrying about it. In those cases, like, okay, I submitted my portfolio. Are they going to call me? Am I going to get the job? Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I'm so, thinking about it every day. Don't do that. Because that, you can't affect that result. Instead, a better thing to kind of concern yourself with, if you want to be concerned about anything, that would be, did I put in my whole effort? Did I put in the time and the effort? And did I use my logic to think, is this the most logical thing for me to do? Now, that, my friends, that is some really good thinking, because those are things that you can affect. You can put in the time. You can put in the effort. You can try to think about it logically. If you are doing all those things and you don't get that job that you're trying to go for, in my opinion, under my beliefs, my kind of principles, you did succeed. Why? Because you did everything that you could. And if you are always doing everything that you could, thinking about it in a logical way, doing things logically, then in the long run, you'll succeed. You will. Unless your logic is flawed, which I will kind of add one last little part to this, okay? Make sure that... what was that part there that I was writing? Make sure that the self-doubt isn't coming from fear. If it's coming from fear, keep marching forward, everybody. Keep marching forward. That fear gate, that border between high achievers and low achievers. That border is fear, for the most part. The only time you stop is when logic tells you this isn't a good idea. And it's no longer about fear, it's about logic. Okay? Now, easier said than done, because fear is it's a jerk. It really can mess people up. But like I said in the beginning, so many of the things, so many of the lessons that I've kind of heard about or learned or whatever, the ones that reign the truest, the ones that were the most valuable for me, were the ones that were super easy to understand, very difficult to master. And you could spend the rest of your life mastering some of the techniques and things that that you might learn. It's really great questions, by the way. We'll just keep going. Jack here. Jack says, do you have any recommendations on how to improve your design sense? My designs feel like they aren't as cool as others, and I have trouble using reference effectively. Paint your reference, paint it thoroughly. It usually looks not so hot, and then throw it away, and then start to really paint. That's my method. And if it's still not looking good, then paint it again, and then throw it away. Literally throw it away. Don't use it as reference anymore. Don't use the photo as reference anymore. Go from your head and start just looking at the blank page and start doing something. Not in a way where you are trying to remember everything that you did, but in a way where you're looking at the task at hand and trying to try to visualize that end product, the cartoony version or whatever it is, the sci-fi version, things like that. All right, let me put a little highlight on this nose here. Oops. All right, so I'm just thinking, should I put some rim light on this? I don't want to get in the habit of putting rim light on everything, which I feel like so many of us do nowadays. But I'll just mess around and see how that goes. Okay, let's go on to the next question. So, yeah, but also the design sense thing. Study other great designs. Not just one, not just two, but more like 20, 25 of them. Really great artists, one at a time. Because a lot of times their designs took years to develop, and if you just study them, you can kind of pick up a lot of things in such a short amount of time. So, all right, I don't think this is working, but I'll just keep going to see if this rim light works. All right, next question. Red. Bobby, would you recommend streaming as an amateur artist on YouTube for getting more knowledge and exposure? You know what? I would. Because if you look at, say, gaming, for example, gaming streams, the popular ones aren't necessarily because of how good the person is at playing video games. A lot of times, it's just because they're entertaining to watch. So it's not like you have to be at a certain level to start doing streams. And for the most part, a lot of people also like to kind of grow with you and to see your growth, you know? There's a lot of people that I see kind of grow, and perhaps I might have encountered them before, or saw some early posts of theirs talking about their dreams and stuff like that, and now they're actually doing it. It makes me feel good that I knew about them from so long ago. I don't know about you guys, but that's how I kind of feel a lot of times. It makes me feel connected, like I grew with these people. And if I ever met them, then I'd be like, I knew of your stuff since this, since that. And a lot of times that's a really great kind of connecting tip. I don't like the room light. I'm gonna get rid of that. I think it looks fine how it is. Let's do one more. Actually, let's do something else. I will do some. There's these products that I've been working on. I'll do one of those. Is it this? Sleepy Dreamer. There we go. So what is this? Well, this is essentially part of a series of fun little plant people that I've been doing, and plan on actually making them three-dimensional and everything with a little surprise, so that should be fun. Alright, so I'll start off by just doing some sort of bass tone for this. So I'm looking at this, I'm thinking it should be brown and green, I think. So brown, I'm going to go with a kind of darker brown. Alright, that looks pretty good. Okay, so next question. Orkipio asks, what happened to the drawing exercises series? Yeah, I still have like a bunch of videos on this channel, on my YouTube channel, where I talk about stuff and I do a little exercise that I invite everybody else to do with me. What happened with that? You know what? I like to try things out. I like to constantly tinker with things. And so that was one of the things I was kind of tinkering with. And in the end, I just kind of felt like doing something else. So I might bring it back later on. I'd love to, like I said, I love tinkering with stuff, and sometimes that means going back to old things as well, because that was really fun. But what happened to that? I just felt like doing other things. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Jissy, or Gissy, which workshop is more oriented to concept art in Europe are you going to come? Well, you know what? We try to keep things quite mixed because everything relates to everything. At a certain level of art, everything is everything. But the ones that I'm going to be going to, let's see, I'm going to be going to Florence for sure. Love Florence. I'm going to be going to Seattle. There's a private workshop in Querétaro, Mexico. I'll be going to. I'll be going to another private workshop in Israel. I'll be going to the Shanghai workshop in March. I'll be going to, I don't know, I think that's all for right now, as far as I remember. But then again, everything's on the list and stuff, so I could be forgetting something. Okay, next question. Joe, Do you find it difficult to break out of the commercial art world back then, being from Canada? And I'm gonna make this my last question. Okay, you guys have been awesome. So, did you find it difficult to break into commercial art world back then, being from Canada, situated in Vancouver? I personally find it even more difficult being in the Wild West. Oh, that's really interesting. I don't really work for too many companies in Canada at all. So I do actually find being on the West Coast a lot better since you're on the same time zone, and it's a lot easier, cheaper for you to, fly to California or something. But I did actually answer this question before, so in the sake of trying to be as efficient as possible, I'm going to go on to the next question. What is the pros and cons of using a nickname to a real name to brand yourself as an artist? Yeah. Uh, so there's a few of them, a few artists out there where like people know them more from their nickname than their original name. So I think it really depends on how special is your name. Because if yours is Mike Smith, then you might want to think about creating some sort of pseudonym, or maybe your middle name along with it, just to change it up so it isn't so common or common sounding. The other thing is, um, if your name is really hard to pronounce, like Igor Albin Chevalier is not the easiest kind of name to pronounce. So most of us, we know him as the Black Frog. And that's a pretty cool and very easily memorable name. Yeah, so I think that will be the last question for today. I got a bunch of other stuff I got to do. So thank you so much for tuning in. Definitely remember a couple things here. Schoolism. There are a bunch of things that are happening on Schoolism. The new class, Fundamentals of Watercolor with Carcamo, is coming out on Monday. And it's the best time ever to get a Schoolism subscription because you get $100 off right now. If you get a Schoolism subscription for a year, you would get $100 off the regular price. That is amazing because that will keep you good for a whole entire year of nonstop learning and leveling up. Then there is the Schoolism Lake House, which we didn't actually talk about. But the Schoolism Lake House, somebody was asking about a golden ticket for that. If we could ever give away an opportunity to go to that house for somebody out there for free. Well, let me tell you what that is. That house there is an amazing experience, a 30-day in-house workshop where you are living with 3 other artists that also apply to live there. They come from all over the world. You come from all over the world. And you would be living with your mentor, like the olden days where the apprentice lived with the mentor. So that you don't just learn from the mentor, you learn by actually seeing how this mentor is as well. When does he get up in the morning? When does he go to sleep at night? How does the person conduct themselves? And then towards the end of your trip, we fly in a guest artist as well to live with you, teach you, break bread with you for a few days. People like Nathan Fowkes has gone there, Steven Silver, I've gone there a bunch of times, a whole bunch. Andrea Blasic, Jeff Turley, tons. So that applications actually are due today. I believe today is the last day to accept applications. I'm sure if you get it in tomorrow, it should probably be okay as well. But today is currently December 14th, so get that in. And if you want to be aware of next time we do opening for the Schoolism Lake House, join the Schoolism newsletter, okay? And the last thing that I want to mention is the promo code INSPIRE, because if you do want to meet up with us and make 2018 full of learning and awesomeness, if you use the promo code INSPIRE on the Schoolism website for any of the workshops, you will get a nice discount from us. And the expiry date for that, I believe, is today or tomorrow. So get on that as well. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in and for spending some time with me as I paint some stuff and answer your questions. Hope you had a great time. I know I did. So be well, sending positive vibes to you all, and hope to see you guys next time.